4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for November 27th, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Geoff Grubb. Today, what to expect from the Game Awards, other than lapses in security. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Lex Luddy, everybody. Lexi, how are you doing?
Rob, I'm not doing too bad. This is the most scuffed setup I have ever had for this show.
I love it.
I'm visiting my parents, so I have a pile of washing. I have a headset stolen from my brother so that I can actually record
Sounds
this.
good.
I have a 10-meter Cat5 cable.
I didn't know we're plugged in. Okay, whoa.
Yeah, if anybody... and we're getting Ethernet tomorrow, so... also, this is also fucked. That picture that I posted on Twitter with me holding a giant bomb mug, there was fucking nothing in it.
Whoa, okay. You're working us, huh?
Yeah. I was working the social media angle. Get absolute played.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Real quick, couple of announcements. Everyone should go to store.giantbomb.com. We got some new merch up, including this amazing fanny pack. There's a new dad hat that has the Dizzy Bomb logo on it, voicemail dump truck shirt. My favorite, though, of course, is the Fucko Land shirt. Fucko Land, of course, it has the logo that looks like Funko Land. It is. I'm getting this thing. I'm getting this. I want this so bad.
I really want to get that because Funko Land was never a thing in Europe. I'm just wearing that. I also do love the joggers. The joggers look great.
Yes, I'm getting the joggers too. The joggers do look really good. They got a nice little classy bomb logo right there on the hip, so kind of region, and it looks nice. There's a ton of great stuff. There's the that woodcut poster. The limited edition of the woodcut poster is already sold out, but you can still get the normal version. And if you go to our social media, you can see how this was made. It's really, really, really cool how it actually all worked out. So go to store.giantbomb.com for all that. Also, I think tickets are still on sale for our Game of the Year finale spectacular, where we will decide the real Game of the Year in Los Angeles on December 9th at the Terragram. Is that right? We switched venues to have more seating. Tickets still available. Hop on those because they are still going pretty fast. So I expect by this time next week, honestly, we'll be in town getting ready to make all that stuff happen, or being close to getting into town. But by this time next week, I expect this stuff to all be sold out. So if you want to get your tickets for the show, get them right now. If you're in chat, Nikki just popped a link. But otherwise, we'll make sure we put a link in the description if you are listening to this later.
I wish I could go. Yeah, I wish I could go to that. But I do need to ask. Do you think Geoff Keighley will try to rush the stage and talk about President Clinton?
I think so. Yes, I expect him to. Yeah.
Keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for anything. Unlike Geoff Keighley, of course. You had some stuff going on too, Lexi, that we should talk about.
Yes. So I am currently down with my parents because I'm going to London because I got nominated for a 30 Under 30 thing, which was very cool. So might see me at that. And the thing that I want to announce and talk about is some of the guests for my website's Winter Spectacular, which is not to be confused or conflated with Giant Bomb's Winter Spectacular that they held in 2019. This is a very different idea, and I didn't steal the naming convention. Basically, it's something that I run with my website start menu, where it's a writing jam. We try to get young writers to write their games of the year, their top 10 lists, their perspective on the year that was. But we also get guests in, and we get the guests in to sort of have established names from around the industry to also be up there with these new voices and have everyone up there as equals. And we try to get everyone from game developers, YouTubers, bad YouTubers, as Dib would say. We try to get PR people, lots of people who, usually wouldn't get to write about games in any critical sense or give advice. And we try to give them a platform at the end of the year. So this year, we have a couple of special guests from the GB Extended Universe, including Grubb, Jan, Turbo Sean, and Mike.
Very excited.
Yes, yes. And we also have some other YouTubers who are friends of mine. Squidge Rugby, who's is probably the best rugby YouTuber out there. He's an incredibly lovely guy. We have Dead Domain, who's doing great work at the moment. We have a bunch of journalists like Sarah Thwaites and Jordan Ollerman, Henry Stockdale, who's a close personal friend of mine. We have some PR people whose names you might not know, but I think they give a really interesting perspective on the industry that you basically never get to hear as the audience. We also have some developers that will hopefully be involved. So after the show, I'm going to finish writing up the list of all the confirmed people we have so far, and I will post that on Twitter.
Very, very excited about this. When do I have to get my thing to you? When do I have to have it written?
People sent me stuff on like the 20th of December last year, and I still got it up, so you're fine.
All right, well, I'll get that done. I gotta get our guest list things going. We got a bunch of people confirmed. There's some cool names on our list there, but I had not done the legwork to get the thing completely filled out, so that's something I have to do this week. All right, you know what? Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Geoff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with the Game Awards security is getting beefed up this year. This is from Darren Bonthus at GameSpot. After incidents involving unauthorized people appearing on stage to disrupt proceedings at Geoff Keighley's produced show, the Game Awards will see its security tightened up for this year's event. Keighley, the host and producer of the Game Awards, was asked in a Twitch Q&A live stream if there would be any increased security measures for the show, and he explained that plans were in place to prevent yet another stage invasion. We don't want to talk about that stuff too publicly just because it's security, Keighley said. We definitely have plans, and we're trying to do all we can to keep me safe, but also everyone watching the show, the audience, people participating in the show, and everything. What if something happens to Geoff Keighley? That is the biggest concern I have.
Just total moment of reaction and like nothing else. Like very clearly an unplanned question and just like, okay, it's about keeping me safe and also everyone else.
Yeah, and also some other fuckers. I don't know. The people watching at home, should I be keeping them safe? I don't know.
Everyone watching at home will be kept safe from video games. There will be no video games at this show. We will protect you from the video games.
Yeah. In this story from Darren Bonthus over in GameSpot has a good image of Ed 209 from RoboCop on the stage. And I'm just like imagining, like, yeah, what if they did just have a bunch of people dressed up as RoboCop characters doing security? Because like any chance to have an advertisement, a theme advertisement, especially one that involves Hollywood, Keighley would jump all over that. And so I just want RoboCop security guards just blowing people's dicks off to protect Geoff Keighley. I think that's the future.
I hope Schick Hydrobosh turns up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I spoke about this on Twitter, but the actual reason I'm not going to the Game Awards is because Schick Hydrobot hasn't apologized to me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about it publicly, but Schick, not fucking cool. And it's uncool that the industry keeps backing Schick. The Hydrobot, cop on. It's not cool.
Yeah, it's hard to separate the art from the artist. But in this case, I don't think we have to. I think we could just throw the razor blades out with the razor. There's not a lot of news going on. That's why we're leading with this. But I'll say it was weird the second time that happened, right? Because the first one was the Bill Clinton kid. And I don't even remember what the second one was. I was just like, oh, fuck, that happened.
Second one was Gamescom. Right. Which was even more embarrassing.
They were asking about Grand Theft Auto, right?
Yeah.
That's loser behavior.
Yeah, I think the thing was when people left Gamescom that year, which is a show which Keighley is now quite heavily involved in, he's basically the face of that show, and people felt pretty fucking unsafe. The security going in when there's 300,000 people going in and out of that place was about as loose as you could get. Yeah. It was about as tight as the Game Awards security, which you've been to, and you know that that's basically just, if you have a ticket, you can come in. And yeah, it really, people didn't feel good after that show. So I'm not surprised that they're taking this to heart. I just fucking hope that they actually get their shit together this year.
The one Game Awards I went to was in Las Vegas at a casino hotel. And so I felt incredibly safe because because they don't do it in Las Vegas anymore, so I wouldn't feel safe. But in Vegas, like they got cameras everywhere, and they have people who could tell if you're doing math in your head. So I'm just like, okay, this is the safest place on earth. Like they got every square inch is covered with cameras. We're gonna be completely safe here. But yeah, since then it's been. Oh, I just dropped a glass. Okay, that's a good start to the show.
Do you want me to vamp for a bit?
No, I'm just gonna let it lay there as as to like remind me of my shame for being such a dumbass. It was empty, thankfully. But yeah, let's just move on. Great, good job, Geoff. Great show. I
told you this would be the most cursed episode ever.
Yeah, you know what? Let's see if we can hit rock bottom. We haven't gotten there yet. Let's see if we can get there. All right, Keighley explains why the TGAs are moving away from the world premiere branding. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. The Game Awards host and producer Geoff Keighley has revealed that this year's show is moving away from its familiar world premiere branding. Speaking during that Twitch Q&A on Sunday, Keighley explained that for this year's show, the organizers wanted all of its game reveals, whether they're game announcements or first looks, to be able to stand side by side at the event. Asked by a viewer about the number of world premieres the public should expect from the Game Awards 2023, Keighley replied, I don't know if there will be the same amount. I haven't counted, honestly. I think there are around the same, but I don't know. Also, what is a world premiere? It's like, Geoff Keighley, if you don't know, who the fuck would? You're the world premiere guy. What do you mean, what's a world premiere? My world means nothing now. Actually, you'll see this year, we often put up those cards, world premiere, world premiere. We're kind of moving away from that just because everything's kind of, is it a first look? First look, is it an announcement, etc. So we just treat it all as great game content. I think that's right, but I think that's also something people have been saying for a long time, and yet the world premiere branding did stick around until now. Are you going to miss world premieres, Lexi?
I mean, how else am I gonna know when to like yell at my computer screen? So this is gonna be tough for me in particular. I'm curious what they will replace it with, because like they're kind of there for a practical reason. It's like it's it's an audience that's watching it, and when the world premiere thing goes, it's like, okay, shut the fuck up so that you don't bleed over onto mics, or just so that people can hear the trailers. And also for like YouTubers to know now is the time to like stop commentating. I'm curious if they'll replace it with anything, and if so, if this will become like the new Dark Souls "You died" font text.
I would like that very much if we had yet another one of those. This is a thing I feel like I was watching last year, and I don't remember them doing as many world premieres. I feel like I even remember someone commenting on it. Like, oh yeah, there hasn't been that many world premieres. They're just saying something else, but I don't remember what they say. They do say stuff like, trailer premiere, I think, still, and stuff like that. But you're right. They'll still have to communicate in some way. That's a big part of what this show is. It's like there's so much bombast and a lot going on that when it's time to show off a big game trailer, they have to have like codified language around how they do that, so that you're right, so they can signify to the audience, now you want to pay attention, so we get our money's worth here. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think that this year they will, because they always seem to try to correct to some extent based off of last year's reception, do you think they lean more into the awards this year because they got a lot of flack for it last year, but they got a lot of flack for it every year? Do you think they'll be even tighter on, people standing up there and giving their speeches and getting them down because of the whole God of War thing? Like, I actually really liked Christopher Judge's God of War acceptance speech. It's genuinely a really nice, wholesome moment, and the idea that we're now not going to get any of that is like super depressing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we'll still have the same balance of games versus award content that we've had in the past. I think he feels pretty good about the balance he struck. He did, like during this Q&A, he did joke about Christopher Judge talking for so long. He's like, we tried to have a shorter show last year, but then Christopher Judge, and it's like, oh, ha ha ha. But I mean, I expect them to, if someone tries to talk for 8 minutes again, like Christopher Judge did, I think I would expect them to be a little bit more aggressive with the music to push them off. But
that's what the security is actually for.
That's what,
it's not for stopping, people coming up on stage. It's to beat the crap out of Christopher Judge if he tries to talk too long again.
Exactly. That 2-9 is going to be blowing off dicks left and right. It's going to be crazy. I do think, though, that they probably will not get too far away from what they've done recently. It's going to look exactly the same, I think. I don't know how much this show is ever going to change, and if it does, I don't think Geoff Keighley's going to turn back more towards the awards, because that's just not where his bread is buttered. That's not where the money is made. That is the backbone for why the show exists. But as far as like an excuse, it's like it is almost just an excuse. And now let's get to like the things that actually make the money, which is all these commercials and the eyeballs on these trailers. So
the final most important question about the Game Awards for me is, do we see Sam Lake dancing live on stage?
They should have a musical number, and Sam Lake should be on stage performing. God, I would love that. I mean, if the game industry is actually going to be any good, we do get stuff like that, right? That is the thing that, not everyone in the it's not like the Call of Duty audience is paying attention to that, but that stuff is like important to an audience of people who are tuning into the Game Awards, and to have that, that time you put into games rewarded by being like, oh yeah, we are acknowledging this thing that you love in a game. Yeah, that would be great, but I don't know. We'll see. He does go on to say he doesn't want like a quota number for a number of new games that people can expect to be announced, because then he says it's going to reverberate on the internet, but it's probably similar to past years in terms of the length of the show and content. And then he talks about, we went a little bit shorter last year, but then Chris Judge took his sweet time with the speech. It's probably going to be similar to last year with a little bit shorter show. I thought last year's show was okay in terms of announcements and pacing and all that stuff. And I think
you thought it was okay because it started at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon for you. It would start at like 3 a.m. for me.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
I was dead and I had to go to work the next morning.
Okay. These things can drag once they start getting later into the night, especially if they start later for you. Yes. But I mean, I don't know. For the last couple of years, I've been pretty okay with it. But I don't know. What are you expecting in terms of big announcements? Do you think there will be games that we haven't heard about yet that are like really big and will make waves that are going to appear at the show?
I think there's so much stuff on the books at the moment that there's probably a lot of devs that want to just get things shown in more detail. You have stuff like Wonder Woman, you have all of Sony's live service games, you have a bunch of stuff on Microsoft's end. Like, there are a lot of companies with things announced, we just don't know dates or what they'll actually look like in practice. So I don't think there'll be many new games. We got Judas last year. We're not going to get like another Judas, because I just don't know what long gestation things we would be seeing. You might see the new BioShock game, because that's been banging around for years. I think something that's really interesting is the stuff that comes up here later in your run a show about the global media, or the media publications having 90% of the vote and the fans having 10% of the vote. It's weird to me how much of a black box they've turned that voting system into. I know that they got quite annoyed when people started explaining it.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
My DMs.
Hey, I'm not on the voting panel, so if anyone wants to know how the voting works, just ask me, because I remember. But yeah, it's super interesting that, I don't know, there's something... It's the bit that they're open about here is that, like, 90% of the vote is, publications and 10% is the fan vote. Which I get, that's a reasonable split. But then the split that I've never really understood how they grapple with is IGN is on the ballot as part of the jury, but also Jeff Gerstmann is. And IGN is a staff of how many hundred people, and Jeff is in his basement on his own. And, like, I'm not saying that they should weight them differently, but it's weird that they're weighted the same. And a lot of the time, like the case that we had at my old job, the 1 year that our outlet was on the list, was everyone, did a vote and we took it very seriously. But I also know that there were other outlets where I was like, okay, we're just going to give it to one person who fills it in as best they think the site would think.
Yes.
So... it's kind of, it's weird to figure out like how this jury actually works. It's very messy.
Yeah, I mean, which is why I think people de-emphasize the awards' importance when they're actually watching the show. I mean, like in the moment, it's like, man, I hope the game that's nominated that I really like wins. But beyond that, I don't think people are thinking about it too deeply. And I mean, I think that goes for the jury as well. I mean, it's
totally the jury who play it down the most.
Yeah,
who are just like, we just voted, whatever. Like we're here for the news and the awards. And then we have our own actual awards at the end of the year. Most of these outlets, most of these people do their own awards.
Yeah,
that they actually, think people, if they really care, they'll listen to.
Yep, exactly. In terms of like announcements, I mean, I think that you're right. I think we'll probably, GTA 6 will be announced separately. That won't be at the show. But stuff like Dragon Age could appear there. I think there's a lot of movie licensed games that are in the works at various places that could get announced or get revealed here. There's some stuff happening, like more stuff happening with Jurassic Park that I think might pop up here. I think that like maybe some of those other Star Wars Respawn games, maybe we get a teaser, maybe it's still too early, I don't know. But all that kind of stuff is like catnip for Geoff Keighley. I think it's the kind of place where this show reaches a mass enough audience that these companies would feel good about having something like that appear here. And then there'll be a couple other surprises that we just haven't even heard of or thought of. And then things that also we'll see them be like, do I care about this? I have no idea until I play it. I think there'll be a lot of that as well. So
I think the big thing for me with the Game Awards this year, and again, it's something you might not want to talk about in case of pissing anyone off, but it is how it handles a lot of the things surrounding the show. I think that the Golden Joysticks were on a couple of weeks ago, and someone who was presenting the Best Narrative Design Award, she said that she wanted to make a comment on the conflict in Palestine, and they told her that there were no political comments allowed. And then they replaced her with Troy Baker, who went up on stage wearing a poppy, which I'm not going to get into the politics of that. There are people who have written open letters. I have signed some of those open letters that are going around to the Game Awards that they should address the ongoing conflict because they addressed things like Ukraine last year. And they should address things like the layoffs in the industry. I think that the Game Awards can't be a celebration of the industry only, because if you're only celebrating the industry, you're covering up a lot of shit, and it's never going to get better if you cover up the shit. If you cover up the bad stuff, the industry will never get better. And if you pretend that the bad stuff isn't happening, we've seen it in like the past with the Oscars and how people have approached their, awards, how they've approached, who they send up to accept their award. I don't think that the Game Award should be any different because someone says that game shouldn't be political or this isn't the place for politics. I think it's just as much a valid venue, because at the end of the day, it's a place where you're celebrating art made by diverse artists, and those diverse artists have a vast array of opinions who should also be listened to. I think it's tough because it's like you say should be listened to, and I'm gonna be like, I don't have to listen to. I just want here to play your games. But I think it is I don't know if I want Keighley going up there and saying, here's what I think about the conflict in Palestine. I don't need that from Keighley. I don't think he thinks that deeply about these things. I think he's 100% 24/7 thinking about trying to get the next game announcement at his show and has no thoughts in his head other than that, and shout outs to him. More power, live your life the way you're going to live it. But I think if someone says, hey, I'm going to use my platform, I want an award, or you asked me to come here and announce some category and I'm going to say something, let him say something. I mean, I think we should not be trying to stop people at that point. Now, that, again, I get these people being afraid of being associated with that, but I think that's why you just make it clear. It's like, I'm speaking on my own. I'm up here saying what I believe, and all of the people associated with the Game Awards had nothing to do with this. I can say what I want. I hope that they're protected and able to do that in a way that they were definitely not at the Golden Joysticks. So that was embarrassing. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Now time for something just as controversial.
Yes, Geoff Keighley. Geoff Keighley then explains why Dave the Diver has been nominated as an indie game. This comes from Smangaliso, Simulane at Destructoid. The annual Game Awards ceremony is coming up. Thanks to the amazing titles we received this year, the competition is tight. Host Geoff Keighley recently had a Twitch stream where he addressed questions about the public and spoke a bit about why Dave the Diver has found itself in the best independent game category. As Keighley highlights, people interpret the term indie differently. While some might consider a game's budget, others will look at the team's size, and it's also possible to focus on the aesthetic or scale of the game. Consequently, some have argued that Baldur's Gate 3 is an indie game, or even Death Stranding, which was created by an independent studio, despite receiving major funding from PlayStation. In the case of Dave the Diver, the game is made by Mint Rocket, which is a small South Korean group. The group is a part of Nexon, which is a very large publisher. Keighley explains that you could argue both ways, as the game could be considered indie in spirit, as it was made by a small team that likely had relatively small budget. However, this doesn't cancel the fact that it's still from a larger entity. How I read this, Lexi, is basically he's like, I don't know, man. She's like, whatever. It's all this shit is made up.
I aggregated the votes. Listen, don't fucking blame me that other people voted for this. I think this conversation topic has been pretty exhausted. My opinion is of the vein that, like, no, Dave the Diver isn't really an indie game because, like, there is a lot of money behind it. The same way that I would argue that maybe a lot of Devolver Digital games aren't indie anymore because they're a $1 million publicly traded company or a multi-million-dollar publicly traded company. They're not like this fresh young startup or anything. I think the real damage here is that people associate indie games as like a style, and then they decide whether a game is like good or not based on that style. And I think that's where some of the harm comes from in this. Like, oh, this game is nominated for best indie game, but not best game. I won't play it because it's, looks like a PS1 game or something.
Yeah, I think he basically just says it's like there are no set rules. People use their best judgment. And it's like, yeah, again, like this stuff's all made up, and he's not thinking too deeply about these things. So the arguments about them kind of feel like, it's not what effect is this going to have? It's not like the indie game category is going to be better defined next year. It's going to be the same thing again, and we'll be right back here. So at a certain point, it's like, whatever. If maybe we should just like be finding other ways to lift up indie games outside of this one category and this one award show. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We got a lot more news to talk about. We'll get to all of that right after this. And we're back. And we have more news. 25 years later, Virtua Fighter 3 is getting a new arcade version. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. More than 25 years after its initial release, Sega is bringing its classic fighting game, Virtua Fighter 3, back to Japanese arcades. The publisher announced on Saturday that Virtua Fighter 3 TB Online will be released via its all.net arcade download system on November 28th. Virtua Fighter 3 TB Online builds on Virtua Fighter 3 TB, which was released in 1997 as an upgraded version of Virtua Fighter 3. Online will keep the balance of the original game, but, as its name suggests, add online battles and ranking. Alongside the game, Sega has launched a website where players can check their results and rankings in the new game. This is pretty cool. I part of me is just really happy to see, one, Virtua Fighter still be something that like Sega cares about in some way, and to see that Sega is still doing stuff in arcades, even though it's very unlikely I'm ever going to come across this machine. Lexi, how about you? Do you have an arcade anywhere near you?
There is a arcade in Salt Hill in Galway, which is a seaside town, and it is the most miserable fucking thing I've ever seen.
It's rough out there for arcades, right? Yeah.
There is a Space Invaders Frenzy machine there, which looks not good. There is a Minecraft Dungeons machine, which I did not know was a thing. And then there's a lot of like pachinko things and coin games. My relationship with Virtua Fighter extends basically as far as the ones that have been in Yakuza games.
Sure.
Virtua Fighter 5 Showdown was almost I think it was actually the arcade version, was in Judgment, and they have a whole sub-story where you play through that in a tournament, and it's really fucking funny. I think Virtua Fighter is fucking cool. It's cool. It's probably the best thing Yu Suzuki ever worked on, if we're being real.
Yeah, probably. So, yeah. I don't think I disagree with that. Yeah, Virtua Fighter's great. Virtua Fighter was always really like my 3D fighting game back in the day of 3D fighting games. And my favorite thing about Virtua Fighter 3 is the nostalgia I feel when I think about that game is opening up, I think, an old EGM. It could have been a Game Players magazine, and them just talking up how good Virtua Fighter 3 looked, and the graphics were so amazing. And the main character, I can't remember it. Kira, is that the name of the main character? And that I think he was, yeah, he was wearing like a jacket, and he was like spinning, and the jacket was like flying up because it had physics. And it's like, oh my god, jacket physics in a video game. It was pretty cool times back there in the late 1990s in 3D fighting games. So yeah, I hope this is Sega being like, yeah, we're just kind of like, we're going to have a Killer Instinct story in a little bit. And I hope like these things are like, yeah, we're doing things with these old games because things are happening with these franchises and we're going to be carrying all this momentum forward into new games. I hope there's a new Virtua Fighter. I think it's time. Fighting games have like really found their footing, where I think for a while there, it's like, how big are they going to get? How small are they going to get? Who cares about fighting games like in a mainstream audience? It's like, well, no, it turns out a lot of people care about fighting games. And that fighting game audience is so solid. You can rely on them. So if you could build a game for that scale with the hopes of reaching a wider audience, because, you know, some of these fighting games do break out, you can have a ton of success. And I just hope Sega can get its shit together and really do that with Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, I'm curious what Sega's last fighting game was. I think it might have been Virtua Fighter 5 Showdown, the PS5 one.
That sounds right. Yes, I don't think they've had anything else since then.
Yeah.
They need to bring back Fighters Mega Mix. I think that was them. Yeah, that's had the Daytona car fighting, right? So yeah, let's get some more.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Silent Hill 2 Remake dev says game is on schedule, asks for patience. This is from George Yang at GameSpot. Bloober team has provided an update on the Silent Hill 2 Remake's production. The team said that everything is going according to plan and that it just needs a bit more time before revealing anything else. On behalf of our development team, we would like to clarify that the production is progressing smoothly and in accordance with our schedule, Bloober team said in a statement. We understand that many players around the world are eagerly anticipating news about the game, and we appreciate your dedication. However, we kindly ask for a bit more patience. Once Konami, as the game's publisher, shares more information, we are confident that the wait will be worthwhile. Lexi, do you have any idea why they came out and said this? Is there like some story I missed that broke?
There is, yes. Silent Hill Ascension continues to be a shit show and people hate it.
Yes, they do hate Ascension, don't they? Yes.
Yes. And so, like, I'm kind of at the point where, like, this Silent Hill fans don't deserve nice things anymore.
We've said this for years, yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten to the point where they're just so self-loathing that they're, like, lashing out at everyone and anyone. I get it. Bloober Team is not a great dev. I don't like any of their games. I don't like their stories. I don't like the messages that they entail in them. I also think that it's fucking hilarious that they're like, you haven't shown anything in ages. This is your fault. Why aren't you showing us stuff? And it's like, that's not Bloober's job. They're not the publisher.
And
they're
that's
not
what
doing
Bloober's
the
saying
marketing.
here in this story, in this statement. Exactly.
Yes, the statement is literally just like, hey, we don't get to decide when we say this, when we talk about this. And it's fucking wild that they have to issue an apology in fucking Notes app. Like, they fucking said a slur or some shit because they didn't, like, confirm a release date soon enough that the fans wanted. It's really frustrating because Silent Hill, the incredible Silent Hill games, some of the most important games of all time are Silent Hill games, but literally nothing that Konami or any other developer or publisher could release will ever live up to what Silent Hill fans want in the year 2023. It does not matter what they do, there's such an idealized version of Silent Hill at this point that it's just never going to live up to it.
Yeah, I mean, Ascension is salt in the wound, right? Like these are fans who are already feeling discarded and abused, and they're looking over at the feast that Resident Evil fans are getting, and there's like a lot of other franchises that kind of were maybe in the similar tier to Silent Hill that have been doing very well recently, and then Silent Hill fans get fucking Ascension. Which, Lexi, I want to ask, do you know, as someone who's missed Ascension, if I wanted to like catch up on it, should I just go watch people's past streams of like them playing along with it, or what?
Yeah, so as far as I know, you can watch just like the VODs. You can basically just pay for it as a TV show. But I would recommend just watching someone stream and then seeing the live chat before they disabled it when they had like things like the N-word weren't banned.
Oh no! What?
Yeah,
I can't imagine like a chat system in 2023 just not having that one on by default. Like that's just
they banned that after they banned Kojima. They banned Kojima first.
The greatest slur of all. Okay, what the fuck? That's incredible. I can't, like, literally, I mean, incredible as in I am incredulous. I cannot believe that is actually something that's how it went down.
It's really bad.
Okay, yeah, so I get it, Silent Hill fans. It's bad over there, but the reality is, like, this, these Silent Hill, like, projects weren't announced all that long ago. Like, that reveal event was last year, right? Like, so it's not like they're not split apart so distantly that it's like, oh my God, they haven't talked about it in years. It's like, no, they're building back up to like when this stuff is actually going to happen. In the meantime, they're doing Ascension and they're focused on that. And yeah, it sucks and actually maybe is an insult to your fandom. I get it, but they want to get through that before they start talking about these other things.
Silent Hill fans think they've had it hard, but they have nothing on Beyond Good and Evil fans.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, Beyond Good and Evil.
Because that game was never good, and their fans are
Beyond Good and Evil
game.
is an okay game, all right? It's like an okay Zelda-like. It's not, it was overblown. Like, definitely the fandom's overblown for that game. It's not like some all-time great game. It's okay for no Ubisoft game. All right, let's see here. Next story is Professor Layton and Level 5 fans should be excited for November 29th, so Wednesday. This is from Truman2 at Game Rant. Level 5 has announced a special event taking place on November 29th, featuring an extensive showcase that will reveal the release date of Professor Layton and the New World of Steam, and other games from the developer. Level 5 has made a surprise comeback during the February 2023 Nintendo Direct, announcing 3 new games for the Nintendo Switch, some being multi-platform, while others are exclusive. These 3 games are Deca Police, Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, and Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. While the developers continue to release several games on the Nintendo Switch, many of them were Japanese exclusive titles, especially when the studio cut back its North American operations in 2020. At the start of 2023, however, Level 5 expanded its global operations again, looking to release a brand new series of IPs and games. This is evident with the presence at the February Nintendo Direct, with the aforementioned 3 games being unique titles that enhance the Switch's upcoming library, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This does sound like, hey, yeah, we will get the Professor Layton release date, but we also, Deca Police seems like that's going to be coming out pretty soon too, so we might get information on that one as well. Have you ever been a Level 5 person? Have you ever been a Professor Layton person?
Level 5, I love you to bits, but where the fuck is our Ni no Kuni? We need a new Ni no Kuni that isn't a goddamn awful mobile game.
I think they're like out in like the penalty box, because like they had such a good premise for Ni no Kuni 2, and they beefed it. They beefed it bad.
Yeah. That game. I don't like that game. But the first game is maybe the best game I have not finished. Like, it is incredible.
Yeah, and now Jan's laughing for Dark Cloud 3. Yeah.
Dark Cloud 3 will never happen.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't think another Ni no Kuni is going to happen necessarily either. So, but I think I am pretty excited about this Layton game. It's hard to, like, Layton, I fell off of that series eventually because it's like, oh yeah, you can play one, you play them all. But I've been playing the first one again, a game I've already played before. So it's like I remember some of these puzzles, some of them I don't. But like I'm like, I think I could go back into that and get some experience or get some enjoyment out of a new experience. But I do wonder how much they're going to change things up. I wonder if they feel the need to be like, well, okay, it can't just be a little cute visual novel with puzzles. It's got to be something more than that. It's hard to tell, but I love those kinds of puzzles, and I've been like kind of craving it recently. So I'm hopeful that
they're going to give Layton a gun.
Yeah, Layton needs a fucking gun. They gave the president a gun, and they didn't know what to do with it. So yeah. I don't trust these people. Is what I'm trying to say. We'll see. All right. ReedPop seeks buyer for Eurogamer. Is this GIZ gamesindustry.biz? Is that under them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
VG247, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, and more. This is from Christopher Dring at gamesindustry.biz. ReedPop is investigating the potential sale of its gamer network business. The UK-based operation includes gamesindustry.biz, Eurogamer, Rock, Paper, Shotgun, VG247, and Dicebreaker. The business also holds shares in Outside Xbox, Digital Foundry, and Hookshot. Not included in the sale are UK-based events, EGX or MCM, or the digital brand Popverse. ReedPop acquired Gamer Network in 2018 to create a world's leading events and media group for the gaming community. The company already operated major shows, including PAX and New York Comic Con. However, the COVID-19 pandemic put a stop to these events, forcing the business to cut back, which led to the closure of US Gamer, RIP, and the standalone EGX Res event. The company said in a statement, ReedPop, part of RX, has reviewed its UK businesses and decided to investigate the potential sale of its Gamer Network and associated editorial digital properties. They stuff. We believe that new ownership offers the best conditions for growth and blah, blah, blah. This is rough because this is what's happening all across the various industries, especially in Europe, where there's not a lot of capital out there, not a lot of affordable capital that people can borrow money to pay employees, which is something that's been happening in many companies for years and years now. Cheap capital made it very easy to like just keep growing and hope that the big bet is going to pay off. But this also just feels like ReedPop never used these properties to their maximum benefit. These, I came from GamesBeat, and GamesBeat is a small privately owned company, basically. And it's never been some like huge money maker, but they did figure out how to make money by having events. And like Dean Takahashi over there, if you guys probably know him because he says like did some stories you didn't like before. He's really good at like getting people who matter to come speak on a stage, and then that draws attention, and it's like these small events where important people come and then sponsors want to be a part of it, and that kind of pays for the whole business. And it's like, man, you have gamesindustry.biz, and even like I could see like Rock Paper Shotgun and Eurogamer being able to do similar kinds of things. And I know gamesindustry.biz does have some of those events, but it's like, man, you could probably make them even bigger, more important, because you are an event company. This should just be your bread and butter. So it's like, man, that's rough that you didn't know how to maximize the value of these properties. And now you're just going to shunt them off somewhere else because you can't see a brighter future, I guess. I don't know. How do you feel about this, Lexi?
Yeah, I have like super complex feelings about this because I know so many people so deeply involved in those companies. I have worked alongside a lot of those people, and I have interviewed for positions at those places. I think that it's there's a couple of things to it. I think it's super wild that ReedPop is divesting from these institutions which are quite old and stable before they divest from something like EGX, which has been shrinking every year. It hasn't felt particularly healthy the last few years. And on top of that, when you're at EGX, pretty much everything that EGX runs itself is staffed by people from the Gamer Network outlets. It's staffed by GamesIndustry.biz people. Christopher Dring interviewed Sam Lake during their big panel. Outside Xbox people were constantly on the live stage show, keeping fans entertained and getting people to come to the event because they're the biggest draw out of the UK games industry when it comes to like engaged communities. They had Eurogamer people constantly everywhere. GI.biz ran two of their stages, in fact, I think, or one of their smaller stages, which I spoke at. I think it's very short-sighted to get rid of basically all the people who have been manning your moneymakers.
Yep.
And on top of that, I also think that like the companies that would be looking to buy these websites, I would not like them to buy these websites. Based off of experience and based off of the amount of either like the amount that they would control over the industry that they would have if they had all of these outlets along with their existing ones, I would not like certain companies to buy them. I think that it would be a real shitty situation to put people in because it would result in a lot of redundancies. It would result in definitely some websites closing down.
Lexi, we're losing you a little bit. You still there?
I think this is fucking tragic. And it's... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you sound better now. There might be a delay, but
okay.
I think we might be back in business. Okay, yeah, you're there. So yeah, finish up your thought.
Okay, yeah. I think this is like fucking tragic. This is really shitty for everyone in the UK games media. It's already like a very competitive scene. It's already a pretty intense scene. And I think that more consolidation wouldn't benefit anyone.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, I mean, the people you can think of that might want to, purchase this group, it's like, man, it's going to be like venture capital or something like that, and that's going to be rough. So, I mean, you never know. I do know that the people that work at these sites are hard workers and creative and have built brands that have value because of their work and their efforts, and that I check these sites because I trust them and I know that they're going to do that good work. And that stuff's not going to necessarily just evaporate overnight. So I hope they're able to kind of continue that stuff, because that's, really the benefit that they bring to the gaming industry, is that there's a lot of great insight coming from these sites, and I hope that's able to continue. All right. The Division Heartland has been rated, suggesting a release date could be close. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. The Division Heartland has been rated in Taiwan, suggesting a release date could be close. The game's page on the ratings board states it was rated on November 14th. The PvEVP-focused survival action shooter is set in the rural American Midwest town of Silver Creek, which has been left in ruins following the spread of the dollar flu. What's happening in Silver Creek? Uncover the mystery before a new breed of poison spreads everywhere, reads a description for the game. Following the expanding story to discover why this once peaceful town has become the center of a violent conflict between a group of dangerous rogue division agents and an aggressive band of nomadic survivors. But the AI factions and other player squads aren't the only danger. The game is yet to receive a release date, and according to the game's website, further PC tests are expected in the future, suggesting that the game could launch in early access. See, in September, Ubisoft announced that The Division 3 is in early development. This is one that has been kind of back and forth in development over at Ubisoft. I remember it got put on the shelf for a little bit, and then they're like, okay, we're going to go back to that. Ubisoft's been so desperate for one of these live service shooters to take off in the wake, and I said the wake as if it's like a recent thing, but in the long wake of Rainbow Six Siege. It's like, well, they have that going for them. They try to get something else going, and nothing's really stuck. Now they're back to Tom Clancy stuff. I don't know. I really don't know what room there is in the space of PvEVP shooters, but maybe something like this could work. People do like The Division. I don't know, Lexi, are you one of those people?
I remember the first Division feeling like a breath of fresh air. I remember getting it with prize money that I won for coming second in a debating competition, because I was really cool in school and not totally unbearable. But at this point, we now have like 3 Division games in various states of development. We have Heartland, Resurgence, and the Division 3. And I don't know if there is like an appetite of returning players. Like, I know that there are people who still play The Division and love The Division, but I really don't know if there's going to be people who played The Division 1 and fell off years ago and are like, no, I want to get back into The Division Heartland. I don't know if it's held its own like that as a franchise.
Yeah, it's for me, it's like one that's so easy to forget about. I put it in that zone of like, oh yeah, I mean, I think I like that game while I'm playing it, and then I'd never think about it again. But I do know people who are like, the Division is my game. The way other people play Destiny, I play The Division. So I imagine any game that's able to produce that sort of response from even a smaller group, because it's not as popular as Destiny, but it still is like a pretty big game. And if it's able to produce that response, there's some reason to keep going back to that. Well, I just don't, I don't know. I don't think Ubisoft knows how to translate that success into okay, now we are going to expand the brand into all of these other smaller live service games. They tried that with Rainbow Six Extraction. Is that what that one was called?
Yeah.
Like that went nowhere. They tried this a bunch of times, and that was like their whole strategy. For a while, their strategy, and I talked about this on I think about it, maybe it was a Grubb Snacks a while ago, but their strategy for many years, yes, was the blueprint strategy of, we have a blueprint for how we make games in this franchise, and we're just going to keep doing that blueprint over and over. And then they switched to the mothership strategy, is how they called it, where it's like, there's the mothership game in this franchise, and then it's going to have all these little smaller offshoots in that same franchise that we're going to just pepper fans with. And it's like, that has already seemingly fizzled out. And now they're in like this weird hybrid of like, yeah, we'll have some blueprints, but then also we're gonna maybe have a big live service version of Assassin's Creed. But we have 15 Assassin's Creeds in the works and all this stuff. So yeah, I don't know if they see this working, but I'm like, I feel like they feel like they have to keep rolling the dice until one of these hits. And we'll see. I mean, in 3 years, this could be one of those games where it's like, oh yeah, no, 1 million people are still playing that every day. I don't know. It's hard to predict.
Yeah, you motherfuckers are laughing now, but when Skull and Bones has 8 bazillion players, who will be laughing then?
I will be crying is what I'll be doing. Lexi, can you do me a favor? Could you read this Killer Instinct story while I go help a kid on the toilet real quick?
Of course.
I'll be right back.
Killer Instinct is getting a new anniversary edition, and this comes from Jordan Midler at VGC. Never heard of the guy. 2013's reboot of Killer Instinct is returning with a free-to-play version on Xbox and PC. During a live stream to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Xbox One launch game, developer Iron Galaxy announced plans to split the game title into 2 versions. Killer Instinct Base Edition game will be a free-to-play on console and PC and features 1 weekly rotating fighter, as well as a single-player, local and ranked co-op, or local and ranked modes. The $30 Killer Instinct Anniversary Edition will include all 29 fighters and premium content. Oh, sorry, I thought Turbo Sean joined me. Oh, he did.
Sean? Yeah, if only Lexi had someone who actually knew about fighting games.
And I literally was about to type in chat, hey, Sean, can you join the show so we can talk about Killer Instinct? Hey, yeah. Hey, what's going on with Killer Instinct?
I take issue with the way Mr. Midler, if that is his real name, worded things in this article. Because first of all, Killer Instinct has always been free to play since 2013, since it launched.
I was wondering about that. I'm like,
since it launched on the Xbox One, yes, it has always been free to play. What's new here is that it was never free to play on Steam because of the way certain things worked back then when they first put it on Steam. Now Steam will have a free-to-play version as well. That's like the big change that's happening here.
Okay. And how do you feel about it as a certified Killer Instinct freak?
I think that everything that's happening here is very good. So what Anniversary Edition is it's a balanced patch to sort. This is unprecedented. Like 10 years after the game launched, they're finally getting Iron Galaxy back in. They're getting them to fix everything that is sort of like overpowered in the game right now. Like
Dave Latt is on his hands on knees, working day and night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just taking things down. It's like a Rash. Unfortunately, my main, the Battletoad, it was OP as hell. So they're nerfing him and they're doing other stuff like that. It's a very cool thing that they're doing here that we don't see much of in the fighting game community. But yeah, the big change is that Steam is getting free to play. If you own a definitive edition already, or that's also what's in Game Pass, you will be automatically upgraded to this, like it says in the article. And God, man, I'm so happy they're bringing my boy back.
Sean, I do have a question for you.
What's up?
Less of a question, more of a statement. The Battletoads fucking suck.
Well, you're just wrong about that, as you are most things, Lexi. But that's okay. We can still be friends.
Yeah.
I mean, the Battletoads arcade game was at least pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Battletoads are like, I think they're in a higher tier of like 90s animal action stars, right? I mean,
as far as those go,
ninja.
yeah.
They're like shit Ninja Turtles. Why would you ever want a Battletoad when you could have a turtle that's a fucking ninja?
I think I might like them better than the Ninja Turtles.
But their hands grow really big and turn into like
axes
and stuff
and like
shit.
Slam into the wall and like
Rash turns into a wrecking ball. In
yeah,
KI.
they never felt they need to
super
explain
cool.
that. They just do it because it's cool.
Yeah, and Killer Instinct is cool. And hey, like I said, it's free to play on Xbox right now. It's going to be free to play on Steam. Unfortunately, there's some funkiness. This was sort of before crossplay was like really established. So there's a limited crossplay between the Xbox and Steam versions. So just go fire up the Xbox app or fire up your Xbox console. Play KI. It's so much fun. I've neglected to mention, the one downside here is that the game was rated, so the definitive edition was rated M for mature because of the classic ones. because of like Orchid showing her boobs as a fatality and stuff like that. They are removing that content when this drops. So if you already own it, like if you buy it now or you already own it or whatever, you will keep the classic versions of the games, KI 1 and 2 that they ported to Xbox, all that stuff. You'll keep that. But after that, they are retiring that portion of the game. So that's the only like negative to all this, but largely it's a positive.
I can't believe Dave Lang is getting rid of the vagina bones.
If anyone was going to, it was going to be him.
Yeah,
right?
he was always going to eliminate the vagina bones. That was inevitable. Do you think this is a sign that more's happening with Killer Instinct beyond this? Because I mean, we've heard for a while that they wanted to make a Killer Instinct sequel,
right?
And the problem was that they didn't have a studio. Everyone was too busy. Yeah. And we definitely knew Iron Galaxy was too busy because they were working on their live service wrestling battle royale game that, hey, RIP, deserved a better fate than it received.
My game of the year last year, by the way, it was that good.
Yep.
Rumbleverse deserved better, man.
It deserved better. Now, they're not busy with that. That game is dead as hell. And they're working on this. Do you think this signifies that they're back on the Killer Instinct tip in full?
I think it's them floating the idea of like, you know, Phil's over there like talking about how they don't have a developer and everything like that. And then it's just like, oh, magically that game that the OKI does work on got canceled by a terrible, terrible company. What if we, you know, sort of open the door a little bit, get them back in here, get them working on stuff. Yeah, I think it's them testing the waters and seeing how things go. Obviously, if they're working on this actively and this is the project and they were working on Rumbleverse actively with nothing else in development outside of some port work and stuff, anything KI related would be quite a ways out at this point in terms of a KI definitely. 4 or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a sign of what could come though, and that makes me
Sean, one last question.
What's up?
What the fuck is the Kilgore?
Oh, that's a cool dude.
They got funky with the later season of KI as the budget started to run out a little bit, so they had to like stretch things a little bit because this was like an Xbox Live Arcade game essentially when it started, so they didn't have a lot of money to work with, and so they basically did like not palette swappy, but sort of like making new characters based on existing characters. So Kilgore is based on Fulgore, the robot that you see on the cover of KI. They have Shin Hisako as opposed to the Hisako that they introduced earlier in the game. Yeah, there's stuff like that later in the game that got a little not great and a little weird. But hey, they were fun characters as well, especially after this new balance patch.
I'm gonna check it out. I always enjoyed playing this newer Killer Instinct. It's got good game feel, juice. It's got the juice.
It's got juice. Yeah, we determined that is in the top 4 juiciest games of all time.
It is.
New Giant Bomb series where Geoff Grubb plays through all of the Killer Instinct story modes.
Let's go. Let's make it happen. What are the story modes like in a Killer Instinct?
Exactly what you expect, and not great.
Hell yeah, I'll do it. I'm in. All right, thanks, Sean. Appreciate that. Let's see. I got a poll question from last week somewhere. If I can get that up, there we go.
This would have been Tuesday last week.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
No, Monday. This was Monday.
Monday. You're right. Okay, Jesus. Monday. Are you going to update The Last of Us Part 2 for $10? I'm gonna say yes because who gives a shit? I want to play that mode. 25% say yes, 56% say no, and 20% say not now, but maybe one day. So it's like, you know, hey, 45% saying at some point I might spend upwards of $10, or if I see it on the shelf, I'll pick it up. This is why they do it, right? Because it will have an effect. It will sell, right?
Yeah. I'm just fucking tired of The Last of Us, man. I remember when The Last of Us Part 2 came out and some people on GB were like, I feel like tired of this franchise. I was like, I don't get that at all. Like this game is like fucking miserable. I love it. It's great. It's dark as hell. And like, I actually really enjoyed what they were trying to do with the story. 3 years later, that game is now totally unpalatable to me. Like, I could not imagine ever playing that game again right now. Just complete distaste for the politics behind it, the message of it, the way that game plays, a lot of the figures involved with it. I'm just like tired of hearing about it. I liked the TV show, I watched it, but I just have no interest in engaging with The Last of Us Part 2 ever again right now.
Yeah. I've been sitting over here the whole time being like, not for me. So kind of like watching this unfold and people being like, this is a bit too much. Like, yeah, cool. Let's go play Mario. Let's fucking go. Yeah, I mean, it looks worse in context, right? Because there's been so little news about what else is happening with future PlayStation Studios games that it's like, oh my god, they're going back to The Last of Us well again already. That's all they do. And that's not true. It's not all they do. It just kind of feels that way at this particular moment.
Yeah, it's bad that the majority of their news beats this year have involved, several franchises that we've heard of very recently. Everyone just feels like we're getting the same, stories again and again coming out of PlayStation, and it's pretty frustrating, I think. Yeah, I do think PlayStation, they're obviously cooking up stuff. They have lots of studios under them. They have lots of talented people. But I'm just curious if they'll ever move away from, the 5 franchises that they've decided are, their mainstays now.
It's tough. It's tough. At a certain point, they're pot committed, and then it's difficult to spin up something new and think people are going to care about it the way they cared about that thing. I mean, they've done it before, though, which is why they probably will turn back to that style eventually. It's just at $200 million per game, that risk is a lot scarier for these companies. All right, we got a new poll question I'll put up in a second. It's a dumb one, so I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, Lexi, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet? Remind them about your Winter Spectacular, all those good things.
Yes, so on Wednesday, you can find me somewhere in London. I have no fucking idea where. I'm just following other people at a MVC Develop 30 Under 30 thing. You can find me on Twitter at basically Lexi, both spelt with I's. Or you can follow Ash the Start Menu, which is the website I run. We'll be running a Winter Spectacular, which will have a bunch of guest pieces, Game of the Year lists from a load of different people, a bunch of interesting voices on there, and generally just a good time. We're also currently working on our group awards, and we are currently deciding who the best hunks are of the year. We are deciding what's the funniest game complimentary and funniest game derogatory. And we are just working on the Gays Stay Winning award. So it's all go over in Start Menu at the moment.
Looking forward to all of that. Let's see. Anything else? Yeah, the new poll question. Let's get to that. The new poll question is, RoboCop is working security at the Game Awards. What is his prime directive? Your options are serve the public trust, protect the Keighley, or uphold gamer law. So go ahead, vote on that. We'll discuss it on Wednesday. Why? I don't know. I couldn't come up with another poll question, so deal with it. Speaking of Giant Bomb, which is where we will have Game Best Mornings on Wednesday, we're going to figure out what's going on this week. I do believe we should be able to do a Blight Club, so look forward to that on Wednesday. I'm going to play a bunch of Alan Wake this week on the site. That's my plan, because we have awards starting soon. I think we're going to be having stuff happening by the end of this week, in fact, so I want to get that out of the way. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 as well, a game I'm enjoying, but I don't know if I would still be playing if it wasn't for the awards.
I showed my dad We Sing last night, which was very entertaining.
It does seem like the kind of thing where it's like, if you show, did he get what was happening there?
So he got a bit of it because he had read my preview or my interview with Sam Lake where I'd set up what the game was a bit. The thing that I didn't realize until the very end was he didn't realize the stuff that was on screens in the video game were live action. Right.
I just kind of was wondering, can people parse a little bit of why this is fun and impressive?
Yeah, he did get that they're changing between live action scenes and game scenes, but he didn't realize that the live action bits inside of the video game were live action, which was very funny to me. He also was this is something that I'd watch. It's not video games. I was like, yeah, I see where the disconnect here is of there is still an element to people who don't even know that the whole elevated Sony style linear action game story-based games is a big part of the video game industry. There's a lot of people who think video games are Mario, Counter-Strike, and League of Legends.
Yep.
And it's very interesting to see him look at it and go this is fucking True Detective. And I'm like, yeah, this is basically True Detective.
It's if True Detective was fucking fun and cool. Yeah, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of fun games to talk about. I'll tell you what I'm not looking forward to is this motherfucker Jan Ochoa fucking finding a new favorite game this goddamn week. I thought I was through all the games I felt I needed to play, and now he's coming at me with fucking El Paso Elsewhere. I don't have time. I refuse.
The guy didn't finish a game for like 9 months of the year, and now we're at the end of the year, and just like every game is the best game ever, and he 100% platinumed it. It's bullshit if you ask me.
This slut. I've had enough of him.
Also, El Paso Elsewhere is fucking great. I know, you should play it.
I'm playing Chance of Sinar, and that is just that's my bullshit. That is my bullshit. But also Cocoon has been very good, and like I said, a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. I feel like I mean, Cocoon's not that long. I feel like I could finish it pretty quick. I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to play a little El Paso by the end of this week. God damn it. All right. Lexi, thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking about video games. You know how I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and sorry if the setup was a little bit scuffed.
No, you did great. This was awesome. You sounded fine. That's all people care about. Thank you, everybody, for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. One more time, store.giantbomb.com. Go buy the fanny pack. It's time. We're in fanny pack season. We're in the fanny pack era. For the next several years, fanny packs are going to be cool because of this one. Go pick that up. There's a bunch of other cool stuff in there as well. And then if you go to, there's a link in the description to where you need to go for the Game of the Year spectacular finale in Los Angeles. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a good time. All right. We're going to get out of here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Till next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.